And welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus on this finally Friday, February 17th, 2026. That's what it feels like. It feels like February out there. It does not feel like April. After highs yesterday in the low 80s across the area, we're in the 30s this afternoon. I'm Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki along with our Ag Director Bridgette Readel. What a difference a day makes, Bridgette. Wow.
Wasn't even a day. Yesterday by 5:30 when I stepped outside to go walk, that temperature drop had already occurred probably by about 30 degrees at that point. It was significant. Also, tragedy has struck. I don't have a bottle of iced tea in front of me.
She'll never make it through the show.
I won't. I'm going to have to go.
Dean, it's all on you.
So it looks like, it looks like it's up to you guys. I'll be back. I gotta go to the pantry.
Well, we could do another. We could do another LRC update while we're while Bridget.
Oh, you're gonna do that because Bridget's not gonna be here to argue about how she didn't like your LRC update.
Exactly right. Yes.
Yeah. Feel free to start your recap. I'll be right back.
There you go. All right. Well, first off, let's go over the forecast because it is a chilly one out there today. And that's going to stay that way, it looks like, as we head into the weekend, unfortunately. We're looking at a lot of clouds out there today. There are a few breaks coming in from the west. The snow shower activity, albeit was really insignificant around the FM area, did provide a little bit of slippery travel up around the Grand Forks area and out towards Devil's Lake. But other than that, it's been pretty quiet today. Just windy and chilly with highs only around the 40-degree mark today with northwest winds 20 to 30 and gusty, producing wind chills in the teens and 20s. And then tonight, partly to mostly cloudy, low 20s, so another hard freeze tonight. And then Saturday, we'll see a few breaks in the clouds, but again, a lot of clouds around with highs around 40. And then we'll warm things up on Sunday into the upper 40s. And then the good news comes next week, all next week. Well, most of next week looks very nice. 60s Monday and Tuesday with plenty of sunshine. Mid-70s on Wednesday and Thursday. Now, there will be thunderstorms coming into the forecast. That's right, thunderstorms on Thursday. And then the bottom falls out on Friday with temperatures back into the 40s. And we're getting indications now from a couple of our models that we could have measurable snow Friday night into Saturday across the valley and into western Minnesota. Hopefully this pushes a little further east and catches Minnesota, but it is that roller coaster ride continues. And if you missed our LRC special, I just put an article up on our website, WDAYradionow.com, to kind of go over at least May and June. So May is going to be a wet month, unfortunately, and June looks like a drier month. So I guess that's somewhat good. We don't want a real wet May, especially when we're getting out in the fields. That's the only bad thing. And Bridget, obviously, that's one of the things you were not happy about. That's the last thing we want.
I chose violence.
Right.
Chose violence. The brick in my hand came up again about who's going to take one to the head when I find this stuff out. But I apologize to Gary. It's not his fault. He's just reporting the news.
Yep.
But yeah, this after yesterday's discussion, there's a number of folks that are already like, there's some fields I don't know that I'm going to get into because we can stay dry for like this next 10-day period after this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
That's not enough time. I mean, we need sunshine, warm southerly winds, and warmer temperatures, and we'll just barely get rolling before we get slapped with some rain again.
Exactly. And we've got Kevin on line one. He's got a question for you, Bridget. Kevin, go ahead.
Sure.
Bridget, I don't know if it was on your show yesterday. I found it. I'm always learning stuff. And it was the potato guy. Was talking about russets and red potatoes and yellow potatoes and the fact that they have vitamin C in them. And I go,
yes.
Oh God, I'm not going to get scurvy anymore.
That's right.
We're kind of meeting potatoes around here, and I go, well, I haven't had a lot of fruit around or anything, so I thought it was I really enjoyed that, so I don't feel so bad now.
And understand that most of that vitamin C is in the potato skins, so keep in mind.
Yeah, we try to eat the skins, but a lot of people think that's gross, but we do.
So
anyway.
we do too here at my house. So thanks, Kevin.
Yep, bye.
Kevin is one of those guys who chooses to use the JLA insurance phone line to get phone calls to us, and we appreciate that. The rest of you can too. You can reach us at 701-293-9000, as well as watching on the live stream brought to us by Lighthouse Commodities. That's where some of our other fans watch, and they can do that on Facebook, YouTube, Acres TV. If you're a guest with us and you want to go back and watch your video, you certainly can, because it'll be right out there. Again, brought to you by Lighthouse Commodities. I had some emails from listeners after yesterday's show as well. In fact, I'm going to have to go find one of those. And those emails had ideas and suggestions in them for a variety of reasons. One of them was talking about, here it is. He brought this up and he said, okay, as much as people might not like to see that we could have a wet snow this weekend, and that's free nitrogen. So he said, if you want to continue to get your tasty steaks that are produced on all these beef animals, it is important for us to get that moisture for pastures. Also, a more moderate temperature May and early June would be critical. The most nutritious grasses for grass-finished beef are the cool season spring grasses, which really don't like the 80s and not even once we're above 85 degrees. So great point. Thanks for using the Superior Grain Equipment inbox. He emailed me, ag@flagfamily.com, just like you can reach Dean, weather@flagfamily.com. And not only does Superior Grain Equipment power our inboxes, but they make sure to provide you with superior grain storage, drying, and handling solutions. Check them out at superiorbins.com.
All right.
Go ahead.
Before we go to break, Bridgette, I just had a 4-pack of tickets handed to me for the El Zagel Shrine Circus, and that is this weekend.
Is that this weekend?
That's this weekend. So now here's the catch: you've got to be able to pick them up at the station by 4:30. Otherwise, there's no way you'll be able to get them. So if you would like a 4-pack of tickets to the Shrine Circus this weekend, be the first caller, 701-293-9000. And again, hey, Addison, make sure that they can get here by 4:30 today, okay? If they
can't you just go drop them off, Dean?
Yeah, well, I guess I could, I mean.
Got nothing going on this afternoon.
Yeah, right, exactly. So, again, well, we've got the phone lines are lighting up. So, Addison, I'll let you grab the phones, and then again, make sure that they can make it here by 4:30 this afternoon to pick up the tickets.
We greatly appreciate it. And speaking of phone lines, a reminder to those who might want to donate hay to the resources that are needed in Nebraska post-wildfire, also to Kansas and Oklahoma. North Dakota Department of Ag Commissioner Doug Goring has activated the hay hotline for rancher relief so that we can help our neighboring states, which they've done it for us. Now, they particularly like to receive hay that has minimal weeds in it, so let's not be sending them our noxious weeds. They prefer that. But with so many acres that have been burned up as far as pasture, feed stuff such as haystacks and so much more, this is a great help to many in those southern states. And they're waiting for their pastures to recover. They too have been going through calving, so they got a lot of new calves on the ground. So mom needs a little extra hay for eating and straw for bedding. If you can participate and help, again, you can reach out to the hay hotline for rancher relief. That number is 701-328-5110. And our Department of Ag in North Dakota will put you in contact with the Nebraska Department of Ag. If you did not get that number, you can certainly just go ahead and send an email to me, ag@flagfamily.com, and I will be happy to share that with you. I guess I've got to slow my violent streak. I've had one more person. So a brick to the head, that seems awfully angry and abusive for a Friday. Wait till you see me on Saturday.
What if it's a foam brick, though? I mean,
where's a guy supposed to get a foam brick these days?
Look, if I'm that upset with someone, we're not talking about foam. So that's just how it's going to be.
And congratulations to Troy K. Troy, you got a 4-pack of tickets to the Shrine Circus, and hope you have a good time there this weekend.
Well, I would think so.
Yeah.
Sounds like a great time.
Mm-hmm.
When we return from the livestock report brought to us by the American Ag Network, it is time for Market Uncovered with Gregg Hanson. And for all of you with your questions about grain marketing and merchandising, he is our expert. I would love to say that I'm good at helping you with that. I am not. I'm far better at killing your weeds. I mean, I have a special vicious streak for Canada thistle and kochia, but I'm not really good at selling your grain for you. And that's why we're going to talk to Gregg Hanson when we return. I really love how for Market Uncovered, if if you're watching this on the live stream, you can literally see cash falling because that's what Gregg Hanson with Hanson Agri Commodities can do for you. He can bring that market, uncover it, and help you discover more cash in your grains. Okay, Greg, we tried to listen to the American Ag Network's report here a little bit ago, but they kept overlapping yesterday's and today's. So, what happened in the markets today?
Well, on the livestock side, has been a roller coaster. We kind of crashed early on some talk that Secretary Rollins was going to have a press conference, and the fear was, oh no, are they going to reopen the border? Well, no, it was about breaking ground on a new production facility to make these sterile flies for the screwworm.
Yes.
So
Yep.
everyone kind of took a sigh of relief. We got a little bit of a rebound, but it did do a little damage to the chart. We're kind of hoping for some follow through. I do think we saw some selling going on in the cattle markets. We got cattle on feed coming out later today here in about 40 minutes. I think there was a little profit taking anyway. Cash was off a little. So, I mean, maybe we ended up where we should have been, but, it was a wild ride.
Well, and nothing has been slow since the whole situation that happened over in Iran with the Strait of Hormuz. Heard that there was some rally in the stock market because of that. Was there an effect on grains?
Grains were down early when the crude dropped, but they've kind of come back. Corn's going to settle up a fraction, down a fraction. Beans are going to be unchanged up 2 or 3. It sounds like maybe they think they could have a deal within a couple of days now. So, I mean, maybe over the weekend we're making progress. It sounds like the Iranians are going to let somebody go in there and deal with that uranium. So it feels like we're actually making some progress. Now it's the Iranians. They don't always follow through with what they say, but it feels better today than it did yesterday as far as are we getting closer to maybe some kind of ending to all this.
Now, when talking about deals that are going around the globe right now, I saw some articles earlier this week that there is a push from about 40 different farm and ag organizations about creating the Agricultural Coalition for the U.S. Mexico-Canada Agreement because they want to keep that USMCA agreement intact. Do you have any thoughts on if we do keep it intact, what does that do for us versus if we don't?
Well, I am a free trade. I think, free trade is the way. I'm a capitalist. We should have free trade. There's going to get some kind of agreement done. We need to work together on some things. The chatter has been that is the Mexican government are they looking to spend about $1 billion to increase their slaughter capacity, their slaughter industry? And that's maybe one of the negatives about having this border closed so long is those cattle didn't go away. They had a small slaughter industry. It looks like they're going to start to actually make a larger industry, and they will keep more of these cattle in Mexico and kill them themselves. So whenever the border does get straightened out, it'll be less cattle coming in. So that's a negative from the cattle balance sheet. However, if they're going to feed more of these cattle themselves, that's more corn they will need to continue to buy going forward, and that's a positive of the corn balance sheet. So there's going to be some give and take. I think we are a land of surplus. We produce more cheaper than anybody in the world, and so we are always looking to get rid of our excess. As long as we have excess, we want all kinds of trade agreements to allow us to send goods everywhere. Or I'm not fussy on who we sell it to. Let's just sell it to somebody. And with, whether it's Mexico or Canada, they're right across the border. Let's work out an agreement that works for ag to do that.
We often talk about beef. Everyone is concerned about beef prices. What's happening with trade? Are we bringing beef across the border, whether it's from Mexico or sending to feedlots in Canada to finish, bring them back? But what about hogs? Do you see a lot of people talking about what's happening in the hog market today, or has that very much been steady and plateaued for a while?
Well, we've had the really tight numbers on the cattle. That's getting all the press. Hog numbers are all right. They've been struggling here lately, but I think everyone's making a little bit of money. We do send pork down to Mexico when you talk about that relationship. We send ham down there especially. So the hog guy hasn't had it quite as it's not been as wild a ride as we've seen on the cattle side with the really really tight numbers. And there is a cattle on feed report, like I say, coming out later today, probably show us some smaller numbers again. But the hog number, it's not the cycles we used to have, 15, 20 years ago when we were raising hogs in pastures with A houses. It's all confinement. The cycle has really kind of leveled out. So it is a little bit flatter than what you would see. And with the higher beef price, you would think we should have Mrs. Consumer now with where gasoline prices are, looking at cheaper protein alternatives. And pork is definitely in that conversation.
It should be, and pork and chicken as well. Even just this morning, I was talking about a 6% milk from India as a very intense source of protein, but at a cheaper price. So folks are looking for that everywhere. I did have a question from a listener as well, because this is a term commonly heard when we talk about commodity trading, et cetera, and it's called price discovery. What exactly is that?
Well, price discovery is where your buyer and seller come together and establish a price. So you go to a auction, that's price discovery.
Mm-hmm.
You bid it up until someone isn't willing to bid anymore. So that's your truest form. It's basically where does the buyer and the seller find a price they can both agree to. I mean, that's your most basic definition.
That's a pretty easy one, and I appreciate that. Now, lastly, do you deal with many folks with sunflowers? Because the rumor is we may see some increases in sunflower acreage, but I was curious from your perspective if you're hearing that as well.
I have a little bit of acreage. I think the reason guys are looking at that is from the nitrogen standpoint. That taproot goes down. It's a way to mine some nitrogen over that's been lost. I think with where input costs are, everything's kind of on the table. If you don't have your nitrogen bought, that's an alternative to look at. It's it follows that bean oil board somewhat, follows beans somewhat, but in this environment, just like I say, if you don't have your nitrogen bought, it's not cheap. And everyone's looking at what can I do that's different now. The areas where the nitrogen was purchased and it was either put down last fall or it's getting applied this spring. I mean, I think guys are just pretty much running with what they were going to do. But if you were open on your fertilizer needs, everything's in play. Everyone's looking at costs, and I wouldn't be surprised for a little bit of an increase in the flowers.
Every week, Gregg Hanson joins us for Market Uncovered on Fridays at 1:20. Greg, I really appreciate your wisdom and your knowledge. Again, I'm super good at killing your kochia, but I'm really not that great at marketing your grain, and you are. For folks who want to talk to you, how can they reach you?
Quickest way is grab your phone, dial 507-338-6433. You can always go check out our Facebook page, Hanson Agri Commodities, or our website at hanson-ag.com.
All right, we're going to see Greg next week. Next, bottom of the hour news, followed by the headlines of the day. For those of you who saw this morning's weather and said, I'm not going to get a lot accomplished outside, this might be your chance to go to techsupport.farm and make sure that you handle your fence check assessment. Look at your cybersecurity. Are your passwords safe? Are you using a VPN? Do you have separate networks between the business and the home so you have less chance of things going badly, hackers, scammers, and so much more? Farmers are number one target as well as agribusinesses. So reach out to techsupport.farm to make sure you're operating in just the right ways. We talk a lot about what's going on in the United States agriculture, but additionally, the Department of Ag has started promoting and offering a new nationwide effort to promote updated voluntary product of USA labeling. What a great standard that can go right alongside what we see here in North Dakota with the Pride of Dakota. This aims to bring greater clarity to consumers, and it gives that confidence of what we're doing in a domestic food supply. This was announced at the end of March when we were in the midst of National Ag Week. And under this new standard, it could be product of U.S. could be stamped on meats, poultries, and egg products. But you can only carry that label on those products if they come from animals that were born, raised, harvested, and processed in their entirety in the United States. So if, in fact, you bought calves from Mexico and we're finishing them out here, doesn't work. If you had your animals raised here initially, sent to a feedlot in Canada for finishing and brought back, doesn't work. So this really would help to clarify for those who've been concerned about country of origin labeling, etc., that you could take this instead. And it's a shift from the previous standard where imported products could still qualify for the label after minimal processing in the United States. So it's a revised rule. It eliminates that labeling claims previous labeling claims, and really aligns with customer expectations. So the updated label is designed to strengthen what we do, and we know that farmers and ranchers are very proud of their product of the USA products, and they want to make sure that others see them as well. So it is a very practical, trade compliant item that can now be used. So this is seen as a benefit for many around the country. I mentioned this earlier when we were talking with Gregg Hanson, and personally, I'm sort of a 1% milk fan. Okay, dairy farmer's daughter, grew up drinking whole milk right out of a bulk tank, but as I got older, needed something maybe a little less filling. Now we can all argue which is our favorite. Is it the 1%, the 2%, even whole milk? Addis and I learned this earlier today. Whole milk is at a 3.25% of percentage for milk, butterfats, etc. But India is helping to bring to the United States a 6% milk. Okay, so Dean, Addison, are you guys milk drinkers?
Oh, yeah.
Constantly.
That seems high, though. Oof.
Okay, same for me. I'm a big milk drinker. 6% is a lot. That's thick. But talk about creaminess, right? That's impressive. Now, it's touted as a way for, let's say you have kids that are picky eaters, don't like milk, right? But this is a way to get more protein into them. Athletes for recovery have long enjoyed milk, particularly chocolate milk, because it has a little bit more sugar in it. But now you're able to look at this as a heavy protein replacement. And especially as we see an increase in protein heavy diets, whether it's due to GLP-1s, I should say, or it's because you choose to go with a higher protein, 6% milk could be making some headway. It's common in India. That doesn't surprise me because a lot of the population in India are vegetarians. And so for them, they're looking for this as a high protein to begin with.
What about the fat content in that, though?
Well, let's look her up. What's the fat content in a 6% milk? Personally speaking, I don't think I would be as terribly afraid of that.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think that would be a problem. What's the fat content in 6% milk? Let's see what that tells us. Now, this started out, 15 grams of fat in 8 ounces. Okay, so is that high? Well, it depends on what you like, what you want. When I see this story, it was to start on the East Coast where they wanted to bring in this 6% milk, and it's a buildup of the Michigan milk producers as well as the largest dairy cooperative in India. And I might not get their name right here, but I think it's called Gujarat Cooperative Milk Marketing Federation, and that's who's bringing this milk into the U.S. And they were going to have like a limited test run, and then Costco got involved, and now you can find it in about a third of Costco stores across the United States. Price-wise, you could buy Costco's brand of whole milk at just under $3, whereas this milk would sell for about $5.50 for a gallon. So there's a price difference.
Sure.
When you think about Fairlife milk already has extra protein added to it to begin with.
And that's
processed differently.
That's $5 for a half gallon.
Yes. So now maybe this is an alternative for some folks. And as far as the country of India is concerned, this is unremarkable. This is a normal day in their grocery stores. It's a little different for us over here, but it's being well received as we look ahead to the possibility of having 6% milk more widely used across the United States.
I'd try it. I'd try and see what it
Well,
tastes.
me too.
Yeah, without a doubt.
I'd totally try it. I think about some of the recipes that I use where I'm already putting in cream. Why wouldn't I just use this?
They'd be good for milkshakes too. Oh.
Absolutely. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep. So now, if I can find it, although if I had to go to Costco, I think it would give me PTSD. But if I can find it, I would bring some in for us to try because I think a 6% milk would be kind of a talking point for all of us.
No doubt.
So now, a little bit of history for you. I found this is an interesting story. All right. The cowboy hat, long recognized by many. There's a brand name out there that's very familiar. In fact, I know a lot of kids named Stetson, named after this cowboy hat. So how did we get to Stetsons? Okay, so here we go. Going to have a little history lesson. The guy behind it, his name is actually John B. Stetson. That was his last name. And when he was a young man in New Jersey, shout out to New Jersey, in 1830, he was diagnosed with tuberculosis. And he was told, you're probably going to die. So yay, in 1830, like there weren't enough other things to kill you. Tuberculosis was coming for you. So he headed west, wanted to see the frontier, thought the higher, drier air would help his health. But what it did do for him is he saw cowboys, prospectors, drifters, folks who needed something that could prevent the punishing sun and sudden storms from just drenching them. And he realized that the hats of the time from the east really had no business on the open plains. They were useless in those instances. So in 1865, he was recovered from tuberculosis and he came back east to Philadelphia to visit with family. And because he was there, he decided he could probably start building these hats that he had sort of just on a whim started building for himself and others around him. He would make the felt from fur and then he would shape it in a big practical hat. So he started building them in Philadelphia and he named it the Boss of the Plains, lightweight, all-weather fur felt hat specifically meant for the demands of the American West. The wide brim, the high crown, all of that. And he started selling them. But after World War II, culture shock really changed what the Stetson Company was doing. The roof in a car got lower, so there wasn't room for the Stetson. So what they started doing was making different types of hats, and they managed to survive long term because of that. So now they're very much a vertically integrated manufacturer, more asset light, licensing driven, and then you have to follow the heritage of the label in order to use the Stetson name. But it's iconic. Buffalo Bill Cody, Calamity Jane, Will Rogers, Annie Oakley, Pawnee Bill, Tom Mix, and the Lone Ranger all wore Stetsons. The Texas Rangers, the police law enforcement agency in Texas, has incorporated that hat into their uniforms. Let's not forget all of those in country music who wear the hats. And even folks that frequently were more of a hat act, so to speak, in country style, like Waylon Jennings or Chris Stapleton. So I just thought that was a fun little history lesson. The hat is iconic, and that's how we got it. And believe it or not, first being built in Philadelphia. So quite a change.
Addison, do you have a Stetson hat?
I've got my beanie, and that's about it.
That's not a Stetson, no.
I could name it Stetson.
You could. Wouldn't look the same. Yeah.
I love going to shows that are focused around cattle. There's always someone there who's doing a custom hat for you, custom shaping and so forth. So I'm all for them.
Nice.
They're very cool.
Well, we're coming up on
All right.
we're coming up on break. When we come back, if you missed the LRC, we'll take our last segment. If you have any questions about the LRC, if you have any specific dates in mind, and again, just for the Fargo-Moorhead area, if you have any out-of-state questions, shoot me an email, weather@flagfamily.com. I've got a boatload of emails. I've gotten through a lot of them. People taking vacations, weddings, whatnot, wanting to know what the weather is going to be like. So if you have any specific questions about the LRC, give us a call on our last segment, 701-293-9000. And again, if it's an out-of-state request about any vacations or anything like that, shoot me an email, weather@flagfamily.com. So when we come back, we'll take any questions and hit on a few ag topics and recap the forecast. All of that in a few minutes. And welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus, 1:49 in the afternoon. Temperatures outside in the mid-30s across much of the area, a little colder in the northern valley. And we've got Shelley on line one with an LRC question. Shelley, go ahead.
Well, I apologize. This day is already about, and I am 30 miles south of Fargo.
That's okay.
But we are planning a big community event on May 25th, Memorial Day. So I'm wondering what the be like.
Yeah, Memorial Day weekend. Good thing it's early this year because the following weekend looks wet. But Memorial Day weekend looks good with temperatures in the low to mid 80s.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yes.
That's fantastic. Yes. Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Oh,
we'll be happy.
No problem, Shelley. Enjoy Memorial Day weekend. Yeah, that's one of the nicer weekends that we're going to have this upcoming spring and summer, I'll tell you. So, but the following weekend after, as we said yesterday, May is going to be a pretty wet month, unfortunately. I know, Bridgette, they put the brick down. But we've got, I know, 1, 2, 3, 4 LRC storms in the month of May. So.
I put some dates in for you as well to look at if you want to look at those in our messaging, because those are important to what's coming up for some ag events across the region. And as you look at those, I just want to remind folks, if you're looking at the LRC weather and you're thinking about a building project, why don't you call Anderco? Because they'll combine what you need with what the LRC allows for construction. They'll help you out if you're doing new steel, commercial, industrial, or ag buildings. And they've got more than 20 years of business and ag experience that have been trusted to them across the region. You can find them at andercoenterprises.com or call them at 701-277-7078.
Okay, so Bridgette's got a homework assignment for me here. June 12th looks dry. I'll do the precip first. July 30th, that also looks dry. And August 18th through the 20th, that looks dry as well. So all
right, I'm hitting them spot on.
Yeah, there's a storm, but the week before on the LRC in August, and the one in July, there's a storm. Let's see, July 30th. There's a storm 3 days later, a bigger one for the first part of August, and the one in June. And June's going to be a drier than normal month. It looks like that's not even. There's nothing even close to any storm on then. And so temperature-wise, on the June 12th, we're looking at temperatures in the low 80s. July 30th, we're looking at temperatures a little below normal in the upper 70s. And the August...
I'll take that one.
Right, I know. And then August 18th through 20th, and we are looking at temperatures right around 80.
Well, I could say that sounds decent enough.
Yeah.
That's what we're shooting for good weather, no doubt. Also, I wanted to say that coming up here as we get into the end of April into early May, we're going to be running a Flag the Farmer promotion. Never know what day you'll find myself and a couple of our sponsors out handing out U.S. flags to fly from your farm equipment, in your farmyard, or in your shop. And we plan to do that with a couple of sponsors such as Landmark Companies as well as Geronimo Power. I'll let you know what dates we'll be out and about, but you just never know when you'll see us pull up to you in the field or in the farmyard, and we'll have flags and more goodies for you on those days when we flag a farmer. If you're a sponsor or would like to be a part of that promotion, you can reach us here at the station. You can even email me, ag@flagfamily.com, and we'll get you involved as well. Happy to do so.
Now, you said goodies. Are you talking like a 12-pack of Bud Light or not that big of goodies?
I'm not in charge of the goodies. The sponsors are.
Okay.
But I did give them some suggestions.
Something that the farmers will all like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
I don't like useless swag.
Right.
I mean, how many more coffee cups do you all need? None. By now, everyone in the free world owns a Yeti cooler. Pretty sure of it. So how about we give things that are just a little bit more useful? You all laugh, but I swear to God, every farm is missing a 9/16 wrench, a 1/2-inch socket, and probably a 10 millimeter. So if someone wants to make up that combination, we can probably use them. Vice grips break, pliers break, screwdrivers get used as chisels when they shouldn't. So tools like that are important. And every farm shop, there's a lot of lunches to be served. People could use more and more paper plates.
Mm-hmm.
So based on yesterday's weather special, Dean, did you have a lot of folks asking about a specific date? We talked about Memorial Day. It sounds like the 4th of July might even be a little nicer than usual. I've worn a coat more times than I can count on that holiday.
On the 4th of July, yeah. That
Yep.
Fest, that was big. 4th of July this year looks like low 80s. And I believe we had rain in the forecast. Yeah, there was a storm coming in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th in July. So if that comes in a day early, and again, these dates, they can fluctuate a day or so, but, so this gives you a general idea. The 4th, we could be at the tail end of that storm system with temperatures, again, right around 80 degrees on the 4th.
And we don't know the intensity of the amount of rainfall. Although you did say at the beginning of May,
That's
one
a
was
big
a bit
one.
of a spike.
Yes.
Yeah.
That and
So
that does come
I'm
back in
concerned.
July as well. So, that first week in May looks to be a bigger one. So we'll see how that irons out. Our models aren't quite. They were picking it up on it yesterday, and this doesn't surprise me. They flip flop when it's that far off. They were picking up on it yesterday, and they totally have it erased today. So. We'll see how that pans out, but it's we know something's going to be there, and this should be the last. Well, I'd like to say we'll dry out a little bit after that, but like we said, the month of May is going to be on the wetter side with storms coming in. I think we have 4. I'm going to double check here. I think we had 4 storms in the month of May. Yeah, the 4th, 5th, and 6th, the 9th, 10th, and 11th, the 19th and 20th. And then a bigger one at the end of the month, the 27th, all the way through the 30th of May. So kind of a wetter.
Are you going to name them?
Well, that's
People
a
asked yesterday
that's a
if you would name
yeah, right. We'll see. I think that might be a good idea. Like Gary said, then you can name those like hurricanes and see how they cycle back in the next cycle, and then we'll have a name for them in the next cycle.
That would probably be the better thing because. Otherwise, all you just say is this was the storm that we had at whatever date, and folks are like, I don't remember that.
Yep.
But if you name it like the hurricane, that leaves an indelible mark on your psyche and your calendar.
Exactly.
At the Readel show last year, please never again, because I still have a little PTSD over that deal.
Right.
That was a long night,
Yeah.
and it was worse in Enderlin in that area than it was where I'm at, but it was still not pleasant.
No doubt. Yeah, hopefully this is a little less, a little quieter severe weather season. But if we're right on the cusp of that heat ridge, when that heat ridge does build, and we're right on the northern end of that, that's a good recipe for that. That's what we call that ring of fire pattern, and that's a good recipe for severe storms. So whenever that heat ridge does build northward during the summer, that's when we'll keep a definite close eye out for severe weather during that time frame.
All you storm chasers are cute. Just please don't come back.
Yeah, we don't want to see reed timber around here. Not at all. Not at all. Let's do a quick recap of the weather. We've got a chilly weekend ahead. We're going to see some breaks in the clouds, a few breaks today. Temperatures right around the 40-degree mark, and then a little more sunshine, but not much more for your Saturday with highs, again, around 40. Upper 40s on Sunday, but then the good news is 60s Monday and Tuesday, and we're back in the 70s by the middle of next week. So for Bridgette and myself, I want to thank everybody for joining us on Weather and Ag. Enjoy the chilly weekend if you can. Don't go anywhere, though. The Jay Thomas Show is coming up next.